Kevin Culp back at you at Supermicro, PM head of cloud management software here at Supermicro. Today we're going to talk about giving you a step-by-step guide on how to install a bare-metal host. In the previous videos, we talked about installing a virtual guest instance on a hypervisor of your choice, but this one we're going to focus on a bare-metal install, and it's going to be an air-gap mode. So getting the offline installer, you'll need to reach out to a Supermicro personnel to get the offline installer prior to your installation. So we're going to look at a couple of things prior to the install, which is a pre-flight check that you actually need to do. So right here I have logged into my bare-metal host. And the first thing we want to basically do is create a directory there or repository where we're going to put the SCC save set or the image that's been downloaded off the portal. And so we call that folder SCC-Q. So let's go over to that directory and take a look here. And you can see here we have two packages that we've actually uploaded. We've uploaded the offline installer, which is a requirement to be able to execute in air-gap mode. We'll show you how you actually execute the tarball file in offline mode, and then also our software bits that we have built or downloaded into our folder. So let's take a look at a couple of things before getting into the actual install. The first thing you'd like to do is just take a look at the actual interface. The interface here basically shows here that the ENO NPL0, which is the first NIC, is connected into the management network, your enterprise network. And then you notice here that the second interface is not connected, or any of those second interfaces are connected. We talked about the fact is that there was no NIC that is required to do a install with no dependency on the second NIC. And today we're going to give you a step-by-step guide and demonstrate how the second NIC is not required on your installation. Although we do have a virtual bridge still contained in our environment to be able to pass packets, and we talked about the significance of that second bridge in order for us to be able to deploy in our environment. In a virtual guest instance, we removed the dependency of that virtual bridge because there was no virtual machine layer in order to be able to deploy under a virtual instance. In the bare metal, we have a virtual machine layer that requires to forward packets between the second bridge and the K cluster, the K pods. So let's dig into it. So the first thing we want to do is let's clear all this gobbledygook on the screen here, and let's issue the ls command. And the first thing we're going to do is basically issue the tarball file with a switch, and that switcher parameter is XVZF. And then we're going to hit the tab key, and then it fills the rest of the characters in for us. We're going to execute it, and then we're going to wait until this cooks. In the background here is basically going to take all those existing bits and move it into a directory structure there called SCC v3.9.0-2. And so that's what it's doing right now. It's basically copying those bits into the 3.9.2. So let's let it execute in the background here. A little bit slow in finishing its tarball file. Incidentally, the file itself is approximately 13 gig to 14 gig. And again, we create this self-contained Kubernetes architecture under the hood to allow you to be able to scale to 20,000 monitor hosts. So you probably say, gee, Kevin, the save set or the actual file or software bit is so large. And that's true because we've actually created this as one software base kit that you can deploy and can go out and determine those various different kernels that you've decided to deploy on your bare metal, whether it be CentOS, whether it be Ubuntu, so on and so forth. So it's finished our actual self-extracting tar command that we issued here, which was a compressed save set. And so let's do an ls here, and we see here that we have a directory there that's called SCC K8s 3.9.2. So the next thing we're going to do, although the documentation indicates to use the MV for move option to move it to a specific SCC K8s 3.9.2 directory, my recommendation to you is just copy it, because you want to use that offline packages save set sitting out there for you to be able to, down the road, initiate an upgrade. If you move it into the appropriate directory, then you're going to have to basically continue to keep moving it back and forth, and maybe you have a new one that you need to deploy. So, but let's do what the install guide basically tells us. We're going to move it into the MV SCC, the offline installer. We're going to move here, and we're going to move it into our directory structure here, which is SCC-K8s, and then hit return. And then at that point, let's go over and take a look that it successfully did move it into that location by doing a CD change directory to that folder and doing the ls command. And you can see here that it has been moved successfully into the offline or the SCC directory. The next step is to execute the tarball file command in order to self-extract or remove the important dependencies of software dependencies into its corresponding directory folder. So we simply can just up arrow here if we like, and then just simply change an existing tarball file here, saving on some keystrokes, and then just go ahead and issue the command tar -xvzf, and then the offline installer save set, and hit return. And at that point, then we'll just wait till it cooks. It's going to copy or basically self-extract all of those important dependencies required for you to be able to deploy in what we call offline mode, which is very important. So we don't have to rely on any software dependencies that are out on the internet. So if you're in an air-gapped installed environment, such as a classified SCIF, or you have some very, very strong security posturing within your environment for zero trust architecture, you simply would basically copy the offline installer, utilize the offline installer, and not rely on the internet to be able to go out and get those software dependencies. Okay, so this is completed. So now we're going to do the ls command again. And what I want to point out is the SCC installer shell script is different than what we saw in the virtual machine instance. The virtual machine instance has a different installer script. So we're going to execute this installer SSH script here. And so by just hitting the // and then issuing the rest of the command here and hitting return. And the first thing it does is let's review specifically our environment here. We're basically operating in essentially the default is online mode, but it'll pick up the appropriate dependencies itself. So we're going to go ahead now and utilize the install Linux dependency and packages, which is option number 1. We actually are showing here that we're running Python 3.10.12, and also here it checks out the version of Ubuntu is what we're running. So we're simply going to hit the 1 here, and then it's going to give us an option here to choose option number 1, install all Linux dependencies and all SCC packages. Incidentally, if you were upgrading, you would choose option number 3, which is install all SCC packages if you're performing an upgrade. But this happens to be a first-time install, so we're going to choose option number 1. And we're going to let it run in the background here and continue on here. And it will go out and specifically pull down from that installer, offline installer, the appropriate images So we'll let this cook in the background here and basically get back with you here on the next phase once this has been completed. So thanks for joining today. We'll see you next time. We'll see you across the aisle here. Have a great day.